everyone, it's Caitlin from embroidery, and this video is going to be just a quick tutorial on how to do the stem stitch to fill in these little curlicue vines here. If you'd like to stitch along with me, I have this pattern for sale in my Etsy, so you can pick it up there and then come back and I have video tutorials on how to do each part of this pattern. So let's get started. The stem stitch I also did for this, by the way, but it's going to be a little bit different for the vine because to fill this in, these were fairly straight lines, but the vine is going to be a little bit trickier because it's so curly. So let's start by coming up through the fabric at the beginning of the line, which is right here, and go down a stitch length away without pulling your thread. Oh, sorry, off the camera. Without pulling your thread all the way through. So you're gonna leave a loop like that. And then you're gonna come up right next to where you were. That's good. And then pull it all the way through. So you're gonna keep making that motion, but the main thing is when you are going around these especially curly parts, you want your stitches to be really, really short. Really small, because that will help you follow the curve better. If you make your stitches too big, the ends of your stitches will poke out and you'll be able to see them and you won't get this smooth curve. So let's head over to that part. So I'm going to keep doing the stem stitch. See, my stitches right now are probably about 1/4 of an inch long, which is fine for like a slightly curved portion like this. But once it gets really curly, I'm gonna make them quite short. So we're approaching this really curly part. So see how much shorter this stitch is already? It's about 1/8 of an inch, I would guess. And every time you come up, you want to make sure you're on the same side as your loop of fabric. So right now I'm holding the loop of fabric to the bottom and I'm coming out on the top every time. So you want to keep that the same. So now we're going here and this stitch is going to be really small. I'll come up through the same hole as my previous stitch and pull it through. Next stitch, very small. And by keeping your stitches so small, you'll be able to follow the line a lot cleaner. So as I said before, you're always going to want to come up on the same side of the loop of thread, be it to the left or right or top or bottom or however you want to think about it. And as you go around this curve, you want to keep that in mind as well because you're going to be rotating. So you also want to make sure that you're rotating where you're coming up so you can make sure you can come up on the same side every time. So I'm going to rotate this a bit, go for my next stitch. I don't know if you can even see how small that is. That is really, really tiny. See if I can even get my phone to focus. There we go. So I'm going down right there. You can see how small that is. There's barely any space. You can see I'm slowly making my way around that curve. Oh, I think I actually came up on the wrong side. After all that talk I did about making sure you come up on the right side. And so if that happens, you can see what I just did was I pulled up my previous stitch a bit and then poked my needle under the stitch but not through the fabric and kind of re-wove it, if that makes sense. So if you ever realize you accidentally came up on the wrong side, that's what you can do. So that's another very short stitch. And I'll come up in the same spot. It's a little hard to see. And this will be the last one. So you can see that curve is so small, but I was able to follow it really nicely and neatly and get this nice little loop that looks nice and neat because I kept my stitches so short. And that's all there really is to it. It takes some practice. Don't be afraid to go slow. I always say that embroidery is a really slow craft, which appeals to some people and doesn't appeal to others, and that's totally fine. So yeah, don't be afraid to take your time. Really make sure you're making your stitches nice and small and coming up exactly where you want to instead of just like close enough. And yeah, you should be able to do this no problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of this vine, and I'll do the same thing for the top of the pumpkin and for this vine over here. Just take some patience, just like all the rest of embroidery. And that's it, that's how you do the loops. That's the hard part done. And once you get those, this little curly Q at the end will be a piece of cake. And there we go, I'm at the end of it. I hope that this tutorial helped you, and I hope you have fun stitching along with me with this pattern. And if you have any questions, make sure to let me know. Thanks for watching.